My name is Tori Smith, and normally I do daily child trafficking reports involving the MILABS child trafficking operation, which is operated by the CIA and DARPA. But it's not going to be operated by the CIA much longer, and it's not going to exist much longer. Thank God, we're finally here. Wow. We have been working so hard for so many years to close this thing down, and we're really, really getting close. And I've said, several times before that I work with some of the finest law enforcement officers in the universe, and I just absolutely love them. And we have been making arrests. Well, they pretty much, in fact, God does pretty much everything through me, and then they do pretty much the bulk of everything. My part in that is to do the process called transfiguration and transmutation. But really, which is energies, that process, if you want to know, God sends energies through my head, heart, and hands, and this is how these horrible criminals are processed. They have to be processed before they can be taken away, because they can't just be taken up in the vibrational state that they're in. They're too low. Okay, today I'd like to talk about the CIA, because all the CIA has been arrested. And so I've done a short little report here, because over the past 3 days, all the CIA agents have been arrested. And this is the time that all involved with MILABS child trafficking are being arrested. And they started, well, they had arrested some DARPA before, and they went out a while ago. I think it was 172, if I remember right. But that was like months ago. And they were also involved in many other things. They were all Nazi war criminals as well. And all the CIA agents will be taken to Aeron for trials. It's spelled A-E-R-O-N. And I've met some Iranians, and they are just truly magical people. Some of these people just blow my mind. They're so advanced, and they're so intelligent. And literally all of them have 100% sacred light. And, of course, all these men that rape and murder children have 0% sacred light. And the others, Luciferians, are at 37% for some reason. I don't know. That's just a number. And there's going to be more arrests shortly. And over 400,000 in heaven that were murdered by this child trafficking operation. We're having a big party. And to celebrate, this, because so many children crossed over right after being gang raped and murdered. Now, most of those children have left heaven. They have either incarnated to Agartha, or they have moved to Venus, and Venus, which is incredibly beautiful. Almost every human that is now living on Earth has had at least a couple lifetimes living either on the surface of Venus or inside. Most of us lived inside Venus. Of course, the surface of that planet was destroyed on one of the passes of Nibiru and the Brown Dwarf Star. I would also like to report that former American CIA division agent John Brennan, his trial is now over. And like I've talked about these trials before, and what happens is, well, there's no judge and there's no attorneys. There's a council of 6 who guide. And what happens is, because, see, everything is recorded. Everything has been recorded as far as these child trafficking. Every man that's had sex with a child, in their mind, what I call rape and what heaven calls rape, has been recorded. And when these people are going to court, what they're doing is, rather than, like here in America, you try to find, oh, is this piece of evidence admissible? Nah, but we better not, because that might convict him or whatever. The whole thing is all a sham here, the court system. There, in Aeron, when these people go to court, they see literally the videos of the crimes they've committed. And then at the end of this trial, they have a decision. They can either move into the light and make up for what they have done, it's called serving negative karma, or not. And if they choose or not, then they go in the uncreated mass and they no longer exist. And this guy was such a monster. He was a serial assassin. And at one point, I pulled 267 souls of children's souls out of this man. And he was a reptilian. I consider them monsters. But not all. Most of the reptilians are galactic and moved into the light years ago. But they had a process where when they murdered a child, they could bring the child into some kind of technology or ability. I'm not really sure how it works. But he was walking around with hundreds of souls of children inside of him. And also I did the same thing with Dick Cheney. I remember one night Dick Cheney was having, this is when the technology was still possible here on Earth. And they would take, it was like Ghostbusters, they would rape and murder the child, and when the child's soul left, usually they're so traumatized that they wouldn't make the tunnel of light to go back to heaven. And many a times, though, they would just get lost, but most of the time they would entrap the souls of these children and put them in containers. And then people like John Brennan, well, he would only put the ones inside him that he murdered, in most of those during rape. But Dick Cheney would go and he would pick up these containers, and I don't know how it happened, but he would like put 18 children in him at one time. And I remember this one weekend, they had, it was like, I can't remember offhand, like 15, 16, 17 MILABS. And you know, they're all connected by underground high-speed rail. And he was going to location after location, and I was literally chasing him. Although my physical body was here in Indiana, I was going out in my soul, and me and Mother God would literally go right to him, and I would start pulling the souls of these children out of him. And Mother God would be right there. We'd have a tunnel of light, and then the children would just choo. It was almost like a video game of these children's souls just popping through the tunnel of light, just over, do. It would happen so fast. And it was just such a horror. I am so glad this monster is gone. I remember another weekend with him. He hired Mossad to plant 31 nuclear bombs all over, and 7 of them were in cities right here in Indiana, including Columbia City. And what a horrible weekend. Of course, the Galactics, you know, a lot of these people that I work with, you know, they confiscated all of them because they're not allowed to shoot off nuclear weapons anymore on this planet. And they would freak out on me, where's the bombs? Where are the bombs? I'm like, how should I know? How should I know where the bombs are? And you know, there was something else. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about real quick here, because I'm able to travel again astrally, and I wanted to share the fastest way to get to heaven. Now, what you need to do is, like everything, if you want, Google the power of intent. There are some wonderful, wonderful spiritual teachers out there that can talk to you about intent, well, through their work, like Louise Hay, Esther and Jerry Hicks. There's a lot of people talking about a lot of intent, life coaches and whatnot. Okay, so you can create an intent that you want to go visit heaven. Now here's the kicker. Anybody that has over 51% sacred light is going home to heaven while they sleep, usually 3 to 5 times a week. We just don't usually remember. And why? Because none of us want to come back. You know, this planet is like, got a lot of problems. So, one of the easiest ways, and you can go any way you want to go, and usually the best way, when you set your intent, what happens is the best way for you is the way that you learn, especially if your intent is strong. If your intent is strong, it happens much quickly, and you can go any way you want. You can go the tunnel, you can connect with angels and harps and all that stuff, and that's just wonderful. However, when I used to do guided meditations where I would take people to heaven, what I would do is simply stepping through the door. So here's what you do. You go, and I like to lay down, but I would also suggest somehow supporting your head when you go into meditation, because not all of you is going to go. Your physical body is going to stay here, and the rest of you is going to go. I recommend bilocation because it doesn't split the soul in half. It just makes it so you can be in 2 locations at the same time, because a lot of people have trouble getting back into their body. And so I recommend, it's called bilocation. I intend to bilocate and visit heaven. That's a great, powerful step to take. Okay, so what you do is you go into meditation. It's helpful to wear earphones and having the music on, right? Try it this way, and then do it your own way, or whatever. Or set your intent and figure out your way to do it without doing it another person's way first. Whatever works for you. Okay, you close your eyes, and obviously everything goes black. And what you do is, we all know the shape of a door, and as you're sitting there in meditation, you see a door is opening, but you don't see the door. Why? Because it's all black. You don't see anything except all of a sudden, you know, it's almost like a triangle at the top of a door and then a sliver. Let's say it's 1 inch and then 2 inch and then 3 inch, and then all of a sudden you can see the most stunningly beautiful landscape behind this opening in the door, and eventually, as fast as you want it, the door is open wide, and now you've got it like a perfect rectangle. And you're looking through there, you might see mountains, you might see a beach with an ocean. It's usually what you find the most beautiful is where you'll step through. And what you do then, you see these brilliant, brilliant colors, and you're like, oh my God, it's heaven, it's time for me to go. And then what you do is you just basically get up out of your body, and you don't really need to look back. In fact, it helps if you don't. And you just see yourself just going up like you would normally walk to a door, and you can even practice before doing meditation of seeing an open door and then walking up to it if you've never done this type of meditation before. And that'll give you a little practice. Then when you leave your physical body behind, and then you go up to the door, and it's now very bright, and you can see into heaven, and it's wonderful. And all you have to do is just step through. And it's almost like, I think there was a movie, I think it was called Narnia, where there was a wardrobe in this room, and the children opened the doors, and they jumped into the wardrobe, and then when they fell out, they landed in snow because it was a whole different world on the other side. That's exactly what it's like. It's stepping through the door, you go to heaven. You don't need to go through a tunnel. You can if you want, but a tunnel can take hours or whatever. And then once you're in heaven, one of the first things I like to do is call angels and ask them to surround you in a circle and hang out with the angels for a while. And you might want to take off. You might want to go for a walk. You might want to, meet up with a Pegasus horse. You might want to jump on a horse and take off and fly around. You might want to go jogging in heaven. You might want to go to one of the 18 halls and temples, the Hall of Healing. I was just at the Hall of Healing, and I was a wreck. And the attendant said, wow, it's been a long time since you were here. Let's go into the cubicle. They have these frosted pyramid glass cubicles, and you go in and you can call anybody, Jesus and Mary, Mother, God, Father, God, archangels, powers, angels. You can call anybody you want into this, and there's plenty of them, so there's always one available. And it's wonderful because there's a big green glass dome on the roof, and it's like all this and wonderful sparkling emerald green healing energies in the air. You can breathe it into your lungs. It's fabulous. But anyway, I was out there, and I could see outside, and it was just like all these people were going crazy. I was like, what the heck is going on? It was like confetti-type flower petals in the air, and people are just jumping up and down and yelling. And they're like, oh, they're celebrating the arrest. Well, I have been told thousands of times that mass arrests are going down by the dark side, and it turned out to be a trick, and you have to wait until you clear yourself out and get rid of the dark energy, and then you find out later, no, it was just a trick. Mass arrests aren't going down. So I said, oh, that's great. There's somebody's being arrested. That's wonderful. Well, I never bothered to check to see who was celebrating or whatever, but it turned out it was the 400,000 children that were left in heaven. And they were jumping up and down because that's when, right before the process of arresting the CIA, who've been running this child trafficking operation, which was formerly owned by the Bush family, heavily participated by Dick Cheney, and over 16,000 men in America. Military, police, politicians, and corporate executives are the main ones. So there's a few other type of men, but not many. Those are the four main groups. And I just wanted to share, I meant to do a 2 or 3 minute video, and here it really is 13 minutes. But I just wanted to share, as of May 10th, 100% of the CIA have been arrested and removed. And the four major groups that I've been working with for years are Procyon, Alpha Centauri, Andromeda, and Taiseti. And they're all human. They're all humans, and those are the names of the stars that they're from. And every human on Earth has a history, a galactic history. We just don't remember. And almost all of us have lived in between 25 and 45 star systems. We just don't remember it. Thank you. God bless your hearts. We're finally making progress. I'm a little tired. I've been in jail for 4 days. I love you. Thank you for your prayers. Goodbye.